name is Sam Wibley. I am technical tutor. I run the digital manufacturing workshop, and I'm going to talk to you now a little bit about cutting safely using a scalpel. Okay, so let's have a look at what we've got. So I'm going to start off by showing you some equipment that you will come across, or you may need, or you may use. So let's move these to one side, and we'll start off by looking at equipment that we may use to cut. Okay, so I have here what we call a Stanley knife. Okay, so this is for pretty serious cutting, and this is a no-no to cut on paper and card. This is really too much for us to use, so I advise you not to use this for cutting paper and card. Something else you may come across is one of these, which I will refer to it as a craft knife, which you can pull out, and you have this blade on the end here, and this can be snapped off. These are normally quite cheap. I would also recommend that you don't use this. What I recommend that you use, well, you've also got scissors as well. So scissors you can quite happily use to cut paper and card, depending on the thickness of the material. But really, for model making and engineering, doing various tasks, I recommend that you use a scalpel. Okay, so a scalpel here, it's worth, if you don't have one already, buying one of these ones. This is Swan Morton, so this is the handle, and then the blade fits here on the end. Okay, in order to change the blade or put a new blade on, you would hold with a pair of pliers this blade here, flex this up a little bit. Let's have a look here, we can get a little bit closer in. We will hold this part here and flex that up at the back, and then remove the blade. What I can see here, or what you can see I'm doing, or what I'm not doing, is I'm doing it away from myself. There's nothing in the way, and I'm totally in control of what I am doing it very calmly. I can lift that up and then pull that blade and then pull it away from me. Okay, now that blade, even though it needs changing, is still very, very sharp. That blade you should now dispose of in a safe way. I would recommend that you get a jar or something like that that's empty. Have a glass jar, take the lid off and drop that into there. Do not just throw it into the bin, all right, just with everything else, because these are still, even though they need changing, this is still very, very sharp. Okay, you can do that as well with the pliers. All right. So now I just have the handle that we can see here, which the blades fit on to this part at the end. Right, and they slide in here and slide onto here. I'm going to take a blade from the pack. Let's do this from a top camera because it will probably be easier. Okay, so this is my pack of blades. These are 10A, the number of these blades. There are different ones you can get, but really 10A is probably the most universal blade that we use. Take one out of a packet, and it will have this paper around it. All right. As ever, be very careful with opening something, and we can see that the blade is there within the packet. All right. I'm going to put this to one side, and I'm going to hold that straight away at the front with my pair of pliers. So I'm gripping on that as well. This is always facing away from me. I'll pick up my handle. I can see on the blade that I have an angle here at the bottom, and that angle needs to match up with that angle there on the blade. Okay, I don't want to, if I try to do this, or this is the other way round, it won't work. So line that up, and then this part of this is going to fit up into here. So I'm going to put it on there, and I can push it back with my pliers here, and so it clips on. And if I need to add more pressure in order for it to clip, because it really should clip, this is not correct here, it needs to come all the way down, and I'm going to do this on a cutting mat. All right, cutting mat is really essential for doing this. And then I can put it onto the cutting mat and just push away, not very hard. Okay, push away and the blade should snap into place, and then I can see that that's ready, and that's ready for me to use, ready for me to cut. Okay, in order to be ready to cut, in order to do something, one thing that is essential is that your workspace is well organized, that you work on a flat surface, a table surface. You're not working on the floor, you're working on a flat surface, and it's clear. If I show you as clear as possible, here I haven't got lots of bits of paper here, my mat is totally flat, and I should keep tidy what I've got, put things out of the way, and so I haven't got something underneath, I haven't got something, I'm not cutting on anything like that. This is totally flat and everywhere is totally clear. Okay, so I have my blade, and in order to use that I should really use a ruler, of which there may be various types of ruler. Let's have a look at 4 different rulers. I have a standard steel rule, I have a safety ruler, I have a bigger safety ruler, and I have a plastic ruler here. Okay, you do not cut with a plastic ruler. Okay, if you are going to use a scalpel and you are going to run it up against, you do not use a plastic ruler. You must use a metal ruler in order for that to be safe when you use it. Okay, these are better because it keeps your fingers, let's have a look from the side again, it keeps my fingers away from the blade when I'm cutting, and run down, they're just a distance away, rather than this, a normal ruler where it's on the same level. All right, but a metal ruler, these are better, but a metal ruler to use is fine as long as you are being careful. All right, for this demonstration I am just going to use a standard metal ruler. All right, put these to one side. Let's go back and have a look at what we've got. So I've got my mat here, I've got my ruler, and I have my scalpel with a new blade in it. When you are cutting, you always need to be in control of what you are doing. I've changed the blade is brand new, it is very, very sharp, but a blunt blade is more dangerous than a sharp blade. Okay, because if you have to force something, or you have to really put a lot of pressure on what you're doing, it probably means that this is blunt and that's more dangerous, because we need to be in control. If I'm forcing something, I'm more likely that I'm going to slip, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. So your environment is very safe in the way that this is flat, you have a metal ruler, and you have a sharp scalpel blade. All right, get yourself some of these, change it when you need it, dispose of it in the correct way. All right, so again, I can't sort of emphasize it enough that you really need to be in control of what you're doing. If you're having to force something, there is something not right, please don't do that. Stop and find out what the problem is. Once I have this, when I can be cutting it, I'm holding it, I'm right-handed, I'm holding it in my right hand, and I'm holding it as I would a pencil, in that way. I'm not holding it like this or any other way. I'm in perfect control, holding it, finger on the top. I can cut various materials with this. This is mount board here. I also have a piece of foam board that I'm going to cut. Okay, you can cut paper, you can cut those materials, model making materials with that. If I want to make a cut, then I put my ruler on, and then I can come down here and cut along. What I want to make sure of, if I put this on, I don't really want myself in the way here. Okay, because if I slip, all the time I'm looking for, if I slip, where is this blade going to go? So I never cut towards my hand. I never have my finger here behind the blade. I never have this out here, because if I slip, I'm going to go towards my finger. All right, So I need to, one, be in control of what I'm doing, and two, minimize anything that I would have behind in case I did slip. All right, so we're going to lay that on there, and again, being in control of the blade and the blade being sharp means that you don't need to put a lot of pressure onto something. You shouldn't be really forcing something, because again, that means you're more likely to slip and you're not in control of what you are actually cutting. So I can put this on here. I'm just going to line it up in this situation. Let's have a look from the top. And the situation just in line with the grid on the board for the first cut, and I'm going to hold that, my body not behind here. Okay, so I'm not directly behind the cut where I'm doing it. If I did slip, I would slip past myself, and I go here, and the first cut that I do really just wants to mark out where the rest of the cuts are going to go. I'm not using much pressure at all when I'm going along, and I'm just marking the surface essentially without moving my ruler away, but I'm just marking the surface. That's my first cut. You do not have to go through the material in one go. Okay, common mistake that people make. I need to cut as hard, push as hard as I can, do it as fast to cut it in one go. That's not necessarily so. Okay, keep it straight, run down again. Got 100% of my concentration on what this is, and I'm just gently pulling it down along the material, and maybe 3-4 cuts, and then this will come away. Okay, this is the safest way of doing it, but it's also the most accurate way of doing it. Yeah, I get a nice cut on the edge of my material here. Oh, can you see that? Along here like that. That would be especially noticeable if you're cutting mount board, right? Or foam board, sorry. If you're cutting foam board and you have a blunt blade, it will just rip it. So again, let's have a look at doing this. Right, I'm going to put it here. This time I'm going to mark it out using my ruler. This is a bit close to the edge here. This is A3 and this is A3, and I want to cut down my A3. So I'm actually going to turn my board through 90 degrees, lay this here like so. Let's wait for my camera to come to focus, and I'm going to be cutting down here. The distance that I'm going to cut, I'm aiming to cut a strip off the end here. I'm going to aim to cut this 50 millimeters, 5 centimeters off the edge here. In order to do that, I'm going to mark it out with the scalpel itself. That makes it accurate for what I want to cut, but also it makes it slightly safer, I think. So I'm going to put this on the end here. You can use something to bring it up to make sure it's straight, and just go down here. Let's have a look. I'm going to go down here, move in my 5 centimeters, my 50 millimeters here. I'm just going to put a little cut there, and I'm going to do the same on the top of my piece of material. I'm going to come up to the edge, and I'm going to put a little cut at my 50 millimeter width here. Okay, I'm then going to come back and I'm going to move my ruler up to those marks that I have made. So here I've made a mark in here, and I've made a mark in here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put my blade, the edge of my blade, into that cut that I've made, and move my ruler up so that it touches that. And again with the bottom, move it up so it touches the bottom there. I might do that a couple of times to make sure that I'm cutting what I want to do. Okay, or as in that it's accurate for what I want to do. All right, and then I'm going to cut. And remember, I'm not forcing it. I don't have to go through it in one go. All right, I'm keeping my blade as straight as I can. Yeah, at 90 degrees in that way. I'm keeping this as at 90 degrees here, rather than coming across, so that my cut that I get is actually very accurate coming down. So the first cut, just pulling that down. Again, I'm putting hardly any pressure on it, and I can just feel it breaking the surface of the board. And then I run down again. Okay, and then run it down one more time. And this may take as many times as you want it to take. And then I've cut down on the edge of my board, and I should get a very good quality cut on the edge of what I am cutting. If when you cut it starts to rip, then you need to change the blade of what you're doing. Okay, a blunt blade is more dangerous than a sharp blade. All of the time when I'm cutting this, I'm in control of what I'm doing. And my environment here, my setup is very clean. I'm not doing it on the floor. I'm not doing it with anything underneath. My scalpel is new, and this is the safest way that we can cut.